Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Amigos, the podcast about everything Amiga. Amigos is a proud member of the Throwback Network, your home for quality retro podcasts. And now, here are your hosts, Aaron Dowdy and John Bodovkar Schaller.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to talk about Road Rash.
Road Rash, yes, sir.
Pro tip. Don't Google Road Rash without actually putting game in words
What
next to
happens
it.
if you do that?
You get a lot of things that you can't unsee. Road Rash is real.
Is Road Rash, oh, you mean like pictures of people that actually had Road Rash?
It's no good. It's no good.
They always say if you're going to ride a motorbike or motorcycle that you're going to get it. It's a matter of when. Not if.
That's why I choose not to ride a motorcycle.
Cowardice.
Have you been on a motorcycle before?
We talked about this already.
Well, let's talk about it
Remember
again.
up and down the coal pile?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
We're
Okay.
in West Virginia.
Yeah.
There's a lot of coal. There used to be a ton of coal. It was just sitting out. You just go grab a chunk, set it on fire,
cold.
keep warm, power stuff. Not anymore. But my uncle would drive me up and down the coal piles on his little dirt bike, and that was the last time I cared to be on a motorbike. Plus, it hurts my crotch.
Hey, what can you do?
I don't know.
Listeners, faithful viewers, I'd like to make an appeal to you at this time. We are in desperate need of iTunes reviews, and we would like to have a little contest about iTunes reviews, okay? So if you post an iTunes review between now and next week, we are going to randomly draw a winner, and it doesn't matter if it's positive or it's not. You can just be honest.
You mean a negative review? They can still win?
I didn't say that. I just said it doesn't matter if it's positive or it's not.
If it's not positive, it's negative, isn't it?
I don't know. Don't be so dualistic.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We will draw a random name from those, and we have, thanks to Jonas Rulo over in Hawaii,
Living the dream.
Amigos magnets. I will send one of these to your house, and you can put it on your fridge.
You mean anywhere in the world, Boat?
Anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter if you live in Gubukistan. I will send you a magnet.
Let me ask you a question here.
Okay.
Now, I don't want to poo-poo this content.
Okay.
Because it is important to feed the Apple machine by giving these reviews. But this is sort of like bribery, isn't it?
Well, it's not bribery if you say that it doesn't have to be a positive review.
But it is bribery.
It kind of is bribery.
Okay. So you're bribing our listeners.
Please, that's the number one.
I'm down with that.
As much as, some hosts of Amigos hate Apple and everything they stand for, iTunes is still the primary driver of discovery for new podcasts, and so we want to grow our audience. We want to bring more Amiga fans into the fold, and so the best way that we can do that is to the more reviews we have, the higher we get up on the new and notable charts and the popular video game charts and stuff like that. So if you could write us a review, we'd really appreciate it.
If we get higher on the reviews, let's say we get real high. I mean, real freaking high, right?
Like Cleopatra.
We don't get nothing. We don't get nothing
Aphrodite.
extra, right? We're just us chilling. Doesn't really matter in the long run.
I want to have thousands
spread the word?
of Amiga fans. I want this to be just like
A weird cult,
yeah,
and you're the king of the cult.
not just me and you.
Oh.
Weird kings of the cult.
I'm like a sub king. But really, iTunes reviews. If that's to get a free magnet. The magnets are in demand. We'll send you one out. That's an easy bribe. I'm down with that.
It'll take you 30 seconds. Just
Am I
post a quick
undermining
one up.
this? I am, aren't I? No, he's right. Go ahead and, if you don't mind, drop us one. What? I'm down. I'm down with it. iTunes, man.
It's a terrible idea.
It's iTunes. It was my idea. That makes it worse. Oh, no, that was the other thing. Well, this was sort of my idea.
Okay.
To
What other ideas
start
have
the
you
show.
had lately?
Start the show and all. Man, we are off the rails tonight, boy. What other? Oh, let's talk about the Amigos challenge.
All right.
We haven't had one for a while, have we?
So what is the Amigos challenge?
Well, it was
broadly speaking.
Our good and dear friend, Brill Barracuda, kicked this off. Gosh, it was about February or March we did the first one. And I believe we did. Did you remember what the first one was that we did?
We did. I know. I can just name some of them.
I know, it was horrible.
There was California Games.
Yeah, that was your
Jaguar.
Jaguar.
I tried to say it both ways at
American
the same
style.
time. Yeah,
Jaguar.
and British style.
Yeah, that's right. And boy, I didn't do real well at that or the bag.
Yeah.
And then the bag. And then we did pinball.
Right. And now we're up to episode 4,
and
challenge 4.
They were wildly successful. Well, yeah, they were pretty successful.
They were.
So people have been asking, a few people, when's the next one coming? So I got off my lazy, good for nothing, don't do anything for the show but, and I went ahead and got this ball rolling. Now, it wasn't my idea, but we're going to do Turrican 2, best score off one life, your first life, by the way, and you make the video and send it in. Please go to our forums. We have forums, which we should mention these more.
Yeah, everythingamiga.com/forums.
That's right. And there's a section in there called the Amigos Challenge. If you'll go in there, and their rules are all put up. And I got to give Brittle Barracuda 100% of all the acknowledgement for this. He did a great job of spelling out exactly. I mean, he spells this out. A child could do this. Could get these games going. And there's instructions on where you send the video you make. And at the end of the, I can't remember the end date. I believe it was the not next week's show, but the show after will be the end date. And then I will try to kludge all the video together in a beautiful way, like Brutal did. And then we'll have I'll release a video that has all the games. But this time, just to sweeten the pot, we're going to also give away one of these awesome Amigos magnets straight from Hawaii to the winner this time around. So this is a prize fight.
Yeah.
You get a cool prize if you win.
Yeah.
So if you're, as an added bonus, I'm god awful at Turrican 2, and I know you stink too.
I'm terrible.
So right there, 2 of the people that are going to be in the contest are almost certainly out of the running.
So there's 2 people you can beat right off the bat.
Someone mentioned this, and no cheating.
Yeah.
They told me that. They must have known how bad I was. But anyway, for more details, head over to the forums, or just to hang out. I'd like to get the forums. Forums these days are, there's not a lot of people using them, but I'd like to get the forums up and running. Like, I've been checking them a lot more and stuff. So if you're down, I just want to chat. Hey, I'm also always looking for suggestions for some Amigos plays. I've got some stuff already lined up for some future Amigos plays there. So suggestions. Hey, feedback for the show, we could take it. Drop us a line on there as well. That's always a good thing. Or you can shoot us an email. What's the email
Amigos
address?
at amigospodcast.com.
That's right. But anyway, pop by, get the rules, and we'll fire it up. But it's always a good time. Even if you stink, send in something. It'll be fun.
I also want to give a little follow-up on the magazine that we talked about last week, that K&A magazine, that new Commodore
right here.
and Amiga magazine, which... just grab it real quick, this guy right here. You can purchase this magazine at this website, ka-plus.pl/en/main. You might not need all those extensions, maybe just ka-plus.pl. And again, this is a magazine that is in English. It's proofread by a native English speaker. It is very well put together.
Look at that.
This is Aaron's just looking at a 3D Bruce Lee remake article.
This is what we were talking about last week, and me and Boat were discussing this off air.
Yeah.
There's some good articles in there. There's hardware stuff. There's stuff for all the Commodore machines. Lots of game reviews, and I have to say, I was very surprised. I couldn't believe when this came out of the package. I'm like, man, this is like a.
It feels solid. For sure.
And of course, harping on the fact that the pages are good, that's thick. The content's great too. It matches it, so it's not like just like, well, this is a real good piece of paper. It's actually good stuff. So we endorse this.
Please
product.
check it out and support them.
Yes.
All right. Now we shall move on to the world of Amiga news.
There's lots of news. I want to start off with the newest news first, just because it sort of goes along with what we were talking about last week. Our good and dear friend Adam Bradley. This guy's a news tidbit machine. It's a very top boat. That's that one. It's just that's it. The Amiga Mini. Now, if you look at the Amiga Mini, we talked about this last week in our little mini conversation about will someone do this. Now, look at that picture, and if you're listening on the radio, I will just explain what we're looking at here in this picture of the Amiga Mini. It's a Raspberry Pi with one of those little Amiga 3D printed cases around it. I'm going to go on the assumption that that's not the actual product because that's a Raspberry Pi with a cunningly designed case that you can buy.
Easily tell by the way the ports are and everything that
That's
is a Raspberry Pi.
And this article, so right there I was like, screw this. This is a crap article. But then at the bottom I read something that said whoever is making this, and again, I'm not endorsing or saying this is even real. I'm just telling you what this article said. They say that since Cloanto has picked up the some of the trademarked, like the A, I think, and the Amiga, Cloanto picked up some of the loose trademarked properties from Commodore, that were floating around.
Right.
These guys say they're working out or have worked out a deal with Cloanto to produce this item.
Well, if anybody, one of the things that we were talking about was that there are so many different pieces with the Amiga because of the Kickstarter ownership thing, the name of the company thing.
Right.
You have to work with Cloanto.
That's right.
This thing is
So when I read that, my ears perked up. Okay, now before you got nothing. The little picture, that's nothing. Right. When you say, okay, yeah, we're working out a deal with Cloanto, that's something. So that tells me that someone's working out a deal. And like you said, Cloanto have the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter who you make videos, it doesn't matter who you make game deals with or anything else. If you don't have Kickstarter, you got nothing.
Right.
You got to know, again, you've got a company in Cloanto that also has some sort of deal worked out with the WinUAE group since they sell that, and that that is WinUAE in it with a fancy wrapper, effectively, right? So they've got something worked out there. So by signing a deal with Cloanto, you've got the Kickstarter, the trademarked logos, and you could probably work something out with the emulation. That's the biggest chunk of the battle.
Yeah.
And at that point, plus we know Cloanto has the rights to distribute some of these games for profit, right? Deluxe Galaga being one, the games that come with it. So you're getting you've got also it makes one wonder why Cloanto doesn't do this themselves, to be honest, and maybe that's part of the gimmick.
Maybe so.
But and there are plenty of people out there that no longer exist, their games are in public domain. There's probably enough public domain games or people like CinemaWare that just gave away their games that you can work out a deal where you could put a ton of games on an item and still not have to pay a lot of rights fees. Right? So this, again, just because someone says, hey, we've got a deal with Cloanto doesn't mean there's a deal. And I haven't heard anything from Cloanto, but it gives one pause as to think, hey, maybe this is it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I thought that was interesting. And it came out pretty recently.
Especially considering we spent a great portion of last episode talking about
Yes, we did. So there was I got a lot of stuff this week. Let me consult the thing here. So we've got a new playable EXE from the company. I don't know why I keep putting these in because they make so many, but this time around it's Jet Strike has been upgraded to the 2.6 engine, which means anything, if you're not familiar with the company's EXEs for Windows, anything 2.5 and back, you can't play on the new Windows. It don't work. And trust me when I tell you I've tried every conceivable thing, it don't work. So Jet Strike, have you ever heard of this one, Boat?
I think that, this looks similar to a game that I've done an Amigos Plays on where you fly a plane over an island and you bomb things. But this is not that game.
All right, well, there you go, Jet Strike. And I believe, as I was going to press, they released another one, but I didn't catch it in time.
This looks cool, though.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
This guy popped out, and at first I was like, well, is this legal? And when I said that, I mean, are these videos being distributed? But as far as I could tell, they are. So this is an article that it's actually a YouTube video from about Commodore Amiga and Amiga stories from Bill Hurd. He's a former Commodore engineer. And it's like 90 minutes. And apparently this is, I don't know if this was extra content on the Viva Amiga disc that they've released. I'm not exactly sure. I think it actually was, according to what that just said, this was something that the Kickstart people that chipped in.
This was like a bonus for them.
Right, so, but apparently they've released it to everybody because the video is linked up.
It was probably like a time
I haven't got to watch this yet, but it's on my docket for this week because it's like 90 minutes. But I'm down with that, so that'll probably be kind of fun. Now, this article popped up, and it was everywhere. It's another one. Hey, it's happening. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, how I felt like the Amiga was sort of like my modern console or something. Because, I mean, there's enough news where there's something going on every day, right?
Right.
And so this is something else. That was an article in Popular Mechanics, and the cult of Amiga is bringing an obsolete computer into the 21st century. And it's an article about the Amiga, where it's been, where it's going. They talk about the new machines. They talk about some of the accelerators. You know, they talk to, you know, it's like I just spent $600 on a computer from 1985, which it's all, you know, that is a weird thing to say to somebody.
What's funny is you know, the people that they interview, these are not people our age, and by our age I mean your age, the age of people that were using Amigas at the time. These are millennials, and they're spending this kind of dough.
It's you know, I read this, and first of all, every time I read an article like this that goes into the past, I want to reach into my time machine and just smack around the people that ran Commodore for just, I mean, they had the golden ticket. It just, I know we're going down the same road again. I'm not going to get that, but it really irritates me. You've got this ultimate machine.
This article also goes into like all of the nonsense between Amiga on the Lake and the new Amiga guys and all that stuff.
Thankfully, they got that worked out.
Yeah.
I would love to talk, if anyone from Amiga on the Lake's list, I'd love to talk to one of you guys and maybe get you on the show.
Yeah.
Just because they're
being very
American distributors. Yeah, they are. I never hear much from those guys either. But I mean, I've used their store, and it was really, I was very impressed. So there's that. Let me see. Oh, okay. Another article about a fellow who has converted a Amiga CD game to an HDF file, a hard drive conversion. It was a game called Wasted Dreams. Now, I'd never heard of this game, and it looks pretty good. It was a late release on the Amiga. Have you ever heard of this one?
No.
It looks pretty slick. The fellow that did the conversion is a guy named Damien D. Apparently, this isn't his first radio. I don't know if we've mentioned his other stuff or not. I don't think if we did, we didn't mention his name. Looking at this, it looks sharp.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks
How
fluid.
would you, I mean, what kind of a game does this remind you of? This really kind of defies, because it looks like sort of almost like Out of This World or something like that.
But it's Chaos
top down. But your protagonist sort of looks like a normal dude, you know.
It looks.
But it's the Chaos Engine perspective.
We're going to have a look at this one, but like I said, I never heard of it. To be honest with you, something else I want to touch on, and this is a little outside our realm into the C64, but Ron Hubbard, the musical genius.
That's L. Ron Hubbard, right?
No, it's not. And by the way, when you try to Google this guy, L. Ron comes up with it. But he has a Kickstarter going. It's sort of a pricey to get on board Kickstarter. I was talking to who was it? I was talking to about
Chris Folds.
It wasn't Folds, and to jump in just to get the digital version of these songs, you're talking like it's like almost $30.
Right.
But it looks like it might be interesting. I'm interested to see how it goes, you know, hey, any old school Commodore guys trying to get in there and get them a buck, I'm down with the clown on that. Let them make a few bucks on it. I think that is all the news that I've got this week. It's not site related. What do you got for the site, Boat?
Okay, well, let's pull up everythingamiga.com.
Which is a lot of crazy stuff this week.
And we have Dreamcatcher is back with a review of Impossible.
Did you? You know, it's funny. Before you get into this, I read the. Don't ask me why this came up. Me and my partner were talking about the coal mining strikes of the early 80s in the UK, okay? And it was before this article came up. We were I can't remember what spurred it. We were listening to some music, I think, or something on that radio station. And I didn't realize how much, I knew that they mined coal in the UK, right, in England, but I didn't realize how much mining went on.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a huge industry up until the early 80s when they had and I don't want to try to go through British history and screw something up, but effectively, they had what amounts to an illegal strike, and then Margaret Thatcher dropped the hammer on them, and then that effectively ended coal mining. You know, and it was interesting to read. And of course, we're going through our coal mines are getting killed here in not quite the same way, because we're going out with a whimper instead of a bang.
It's a different thing because here they've always been private, and in the UK the mines were owned by the government. And
something else, my dad was worked for was not a coal miner, but he was in the Steelworkers Union. I think it was in the I think that's who it was. But he was, and they had a strike. And from what I heard, my dad went crazy at this strike. He was like bashing in windows.
Really?
And, I mean, striking is, I don't know how it is overseas, but I mean, over here, it's a big deal. If you scroll and strike and scabs try to roll in, Low be the man that try to get past that picket line, they're in for a beat down.
Right.
You know, so I can imagine something where you're fighting for your whole industry. You know, I bet that was ugly.
Yeah.
You know, and it seems like as a little kid, I vaguely recall hearing about this on the news, but, you know, it was in the UK. And then so we're just talking about that. And while we're talking, I click on this, and the first thing that comes up is a little quick, brief history of the coal mining thing. I'm like, what are the odds of that happening? You know, and then of course it goes into the Monty Mole stuff, but it was wacky.
Yeah.
You know, that was a long way to go for that, wasn't it?
So make sure you check out this. This is another great read from Dreamcatcher.
This makes me want to play these games. I was looking at it. I've never played any of them.
Dreamcatcher has a real knack for finding just the most inviting screenshots.
I know,
these things
so
are like,
good.
man, I need to just jump right into this thing. So
that looks like a really neat game, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Have you ever played those?
I've read in Retro Gamer they did some write-ups of the Mighty Mole games, and I need to check them out because that was more of a Spectrum thing, I think. But it's definitely something I'd love because I love those Spectrum platformers. I actually think that is the only Dreamcatcher review this week, but we also have an Amigos Labs from this week, and this is booting an Amiga 500 from a Super Drive removable SideQuest. You're going to have to talk about this because I don't understand any of those words.
I used to have, man, I'm telling you, dude, it's another thing I used to have and got rid of was a Supra removable hard drive. Actually, the one I had was it wasn't Supra, it was it was SideQuest. That's what he's got, yeah. It was a SideQuest, and you can see it, if you watch the video, right there, smashed into the Supra box. That's a big external box, and it is a SideQuest. Now, the one I had was an external that hooked into the parallel part of the way, which is slow going. But SideQuest removable drives were hard drives. I think the ones I had were 40 meg, and they were cartridges, and they were, I don't know, let's say 5 by 5 inch squares. You'd put them in, and you'd boot them up, and that would be a hard drive, and so effectively. In my case, it was an external one, so it was effectively you're putting it into an external case. It's like, you know, now what the Huckster's got cooking here is he's got an internal, which this was big money. These would have been very nice to have, and what he's done is hooked it into the super external enclosure, and is booting. So I'm guessing it's probably SCSI, and he's using it to boot up his Amiga. Pretty cool. Gary's the man because he just did that video on the booting off the zip drive. If you could have had when I got into the SideQuest drive, it was sort of near the end of people carrying, because at that point, yes, even a 40 meg Super was looking a little slim. I think they made an 80, and they may have went on up from there. Those are the ones I remember. But on the Amiga, if you'd have one of these 40 gig drives for SideQuest, that's a pretty sizable drive on the Amiga, and then the fact that you can buy more cartridges for it and just have them labeled. You could have like games A through B, C through D, whatever. It would be real. I mean, it would have been awesome to have. And Gary, you know, I love what Gary does because he takes these. I mean, in today's Amiga world, you don't need a SideQuest or a Supra or the zip drive, because you've got, you know, you can, a lot of these Amigas you can put a
CF card.
That's
in there,
right,
yeah.
you know, or have some other means. But it's still just the fact that he's getting this stuff to work, and I envy the fact that he could tinker around with this stuff and have enough time to do it, because I would be doing the same exact thing.
I mean, look at that workbench. He's just got everything laid out there, and
yeah, he's got a. It's a treat to watch these. I watch them. Gary's videos are very popular.
Yeah,
I mean, he gets a lot of action with them. And it's because people, what's it show you, right? It shows you that people are still tinkering with this old hardware, man. And I'm the same way. I just like to, even if I don't have it, I like to watch it. I'm like, man, look at this. Look what he's done. I always thought about doing that, but I never had the stuff at the right time. You know,
right.
Gary's basically fulfilling your fantasy from a hardware perspective.
You can live vicariously through his riches.
That's right.
And Gary's actually here in the chat, so thanks for being with us, Gary.
That's to you, buddy.
All right.
You know, it's before we get off the topic of the external hardware stuff. I was on the Facebook Amiga chat today, and someone out of the blue, and I thought this was funny. He goes, listen, I'm desperately looking for an XDS drive, which is that crazy drive that I picked up when I got that Amiga bundle. So someone somewhere actually cares enough about this wacky peripheral to want one.
Hey.
So I have contacted him.
Yeah,
Over the
sounds
situation,
good.
but it was. I thought that was amusing.
All right. Well, Aaron,
you want to? I guess we should probably do a little shill on our other videos that we put up this week. We actually had a few other videos.
Did we?
Yeah. Well, we put up the Saturn stuff.
Oh yeah.
I know this is the Amiga show, not the Saturn show, but me and Bo, once again, as we mentioned last week, have dipped our toe in the pool of some other video games, and we actually put up a couple videos this week. We put up one that's particularly wacky, which was a game called Pinball Graffiti. And what can you say about this game, Bo, for the people that are curious?
Pinball Graffiti is a pinball simulation. And by pinball simulation, I mean like pinball life simulation. You actually play as the game is actually, you are a person, like a pro pinball player. And you have to manage your money. You go to the bar. You can play machines at the bar. You can enter tournaments. You can play basketball in one of the most atrocious mini games ever devised.
Bo said this during when we were filming this, and I'll have to say, if you flip through this video, just flip to if you want to see something really bad, flip to the basketball section. It is so much like the old Atari 2600 basketball, except worse,
Right.
much worse.
Right.
To play, and the thing is, this guy, the character you play in this game, was a former collegiate basketball star who got tragically injured while saving a child, and he pushed him out of the way of a car, and it ended his career. But this former collegiate star will go out and bet on basketball, a la White Man Can't Jump, and try to win money, and also try to win money from suckers in bars.
Right.
So this is a real low-rent pinball champion. And the pinball is nothing to write home about, except at certain points when the ball reaches certain parts of the screen, the camera will zoom in to the bank turn or whatever. I don't know if it's playing a canned piece of video.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a canned piece of video.
But it's unusual, isn't it, Bo?
Yeah.
And then we also did Marvel versus it was Marvel versus Street Fighter.
Yeah, Marvel versus Street Fighter.
On the Saturn, the Japanese version, which was an interesting game to play. And it was a lot of fun. We had a good time doing that. And it seems like we've also got one coming out this weekend that will be along the lines of the game we're reviewing today. So that's sort of our MO on this. We're going to try to play other console versions of the game we're playing on here and see how they play.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll be, and we've got a bunch of new Amigos plays that are going to be coming out. I mean, we're just going to have a slew of them coming out. So I'd say over the winter we won't have any shortage of those, because we've got a new way to shoot them, and it's a lot of fun for us too. Because we get to actually do it together.
The new setup is over at Amigos Studios East, aka the Arcade, aka the Clubhouse.
That's right.
And on Sunday mornings, I head over to Aaron's house, and we spend a couple hours before his family gets up, and we play some games and have a grand old time.
It was that was a lot of fun last time.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
it'll be a good time. And again, if you've got requests, I mean, we're talking anything from any genre of game.
Because Aaron's got it all. He's got it all there at his fingertips.
But I mean, if there's anything you want to see or just wouldn't listen, if you thought to yourself, I wonder what Boat and Aaron might say about blah. Hey, we'll try anything. You know?
Right.
I don't care. So go to the forums and make a suggestion, or just send us an email or a message. You know, we're down. We'll try just about anything. We've got the Amiga out there now. We've got. I'm going to have my Atari computer out there, so we're going to have just a slew of options. We've got all the consoles, all the old stuff. So if you want to see something, we don't care anymore.
Yeah.
We'll play anything.
Hit us up. We're ready. All right, Aaron, it's time to talk about Road Rash.
Again? So Road Rash. Let's talk about this. Now, this game, I have only had a cup of coffee with in my illustrious gaming career. I'd heard about it. I heard a lot of good things. And here recently, it makes a lot of lists of popular games, from back in the day, and so I knew it had a good rep before I played it. Now, did you play this much back in the day?
I didn't play Road Rash, but I played a game called Skitchin.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of Skitchin before?
I don't know.
Okay.
It sounds dirty.
Well, it was supposed to be pseudo dirty, I think.
Uh-huh.
So this was during the early '90s Attitude Era. About the Attitude Era in wrestling. I think these overlapped a little bit.
Right.
And this is where you had lots of tude, And there was a guy on a commercial that was like, I go skitching all the time. And it shows him like on the back, like holding onto the back of a truck, Marty McFly style, while he's riding a skateboard and hitting people with a chain. And of course, I was 12 years old. I was like, I'm gonna skitch too. So I told my brother, start riding your bike real fast. And then I'd run up beside him and jump on my skateboard and grab onto the back of his seat and go, I'm skitching.
So you actually said that?
Yeah, as I was riding down the street.
Were you a lonely
to the horror
child?
of my neighbors, yes.
That's what I thought.
I was very lonely.
All righty. Well, after that, let's go ahead and roll on here. So this game, like I said, came out in '92 on the Amiga. Again, it gained its popularity on the Genesis/Mega Drive. Where I think that's probably the platform that's most widely known on, at least the first one. So this came out on 2 discs, published by EA, so you had the big-time publisher. The outfit that did this developed it was called Peak Star. Now, we've confronted Peak Star before in a few games. I'm going to read off their entire Amiga lineup here and see if you recognize any of these. F1 World Championship Edition, which we haven't never played. Moonshine Racers, which I hear about, but I've never played.
Is that a bootlegging game?
I think it's like a kart game.
Okay.
Sooty and Sweep, which...
It sounds very British.
Sooty and Sweep.
Very British.
And then here's the part you might remember. They did the Thomas the Tank Engine 1 and 2.
Very familiar with those games.
Yes, and so that was Peak Star's. Now, I looked like gangbusters to try to find any information on Peak Star, where they were located, what the scoop was. And I could not find anything on this crew. So I don't know anything about them. I mean, they had a pretty small lineup. They didn't do a lot of stuff off the Amiga either. So, there you go. But that was who did the development on this. It runs on the OCS ECS. And this game was converted, but it wasn't converted to a ton of stuff initially. So this was converted on the 3DO, the Game Boy, and the Game Boy Color had a version, which that'd be interesting. I'd like to see what that looks like. Mm-hmm. The Game Gear, which I'd like to have that myself, actually.
That was probably a port of the Master System.
And then some of these we got to try, which is the Master System had a port, of course the Mega Drive, Genesis, and it had a Sega CD version and a Saturn version, which we actually did have a look at, and the PlayStation version.
And of course the 3DO.
I didn't mention that right, the first one I mentioned.
Oh, sorry.
It's ironically, of all these, the one I've played the most was aside from the Amiga, was the 3DO version. It's one of the 3DO games I have. And so, it's like a whole different game in a lot of ways. So, in essence, to break down what this game is, it's a motorcycle game where you race a field of other racers in a series of different races, right? With a twist. And the twist is, when you get up near other racers, you can punch them effectively.
Kick them.
My guy always punched. I don't know if there was another way to kick him.
Yeah,
when
we get into the controls, I'll show you how you do that.
Which I don't know what difference it makes, and maybe but I punched every time. And also, the one thing I noticed, another thing you can do in this game is, occasionally you'll wail on a sucker who's got a weapon, which I think is a crowbar. And then so you could snag the crowbar, and then you could whale suckers with a crowbar. Now, I was always under the impression that there were multiple weapons, but I never got anything but the crowbar in this game. So I'm guessing and I played this game for hours and hours and well into it. I think I got near the end of the 3rd level. So I played it quite a bit, and I never saw anything but the club or crowbar. Or
I think it's actually a club.
Okay,
that's what it's called in the
crowbar
instructions.
makes more sense, doesn't it, to me? Because who has at a club?
Like a billy club.
Yeah, but a crowbar.
You don't carry one of those with you at all times?
I'm not Daredevil, man. So this game came out in the Genesis in 91. So it was a pretty quick turn on that very popular Genesis port. So now you've played this game for a lot more years than I have. What did you think? I'm assuming you've played the Genesis version. What did you think of this compared to what you'd played in the past?
Well, I think that the game itself is pretty much identical. Once you're in the race, you could be playing the Genesis version and the Amiga version, you wouldn't know the difference.
Really?
Yeah. The menu system is really where this game falls apart. They tried to shoehorn in, keyboard support, going to the shop and things like that, and it's not immediately apparent how to do those things. In fact, I had to consult the manual to figure out some of the things.
I'll get into that when in a minute. Yeah.
But the gameplay itself is pretty much right on. I mean, there's no way that you can compare this to the 3DO and the Saturn and the PlayStation version because it's a totally different game. You know, it's 4 years later. Things have progressed wildly. As it stands on its own, it is a competent motorcycle racing game with kind of a gimmick. The combat thing is deeper than it first appears because if you, like, for example, if you decide to wail on one guy but let another guy pass you and win, it can affect your relationship with the people that win. So that part of it is kind of cool, but it's also kind of useless because it doesn't really mean anything.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll tell you why. During the load screens and and some other stuff, you'll get a comment from a racer. So she says, like, I don't like Biff, like, and I always thought to myself, should I wail on this guy if I see him? But when I'm racing, generally I'm just hauling as much hiney as I can up the track. I don't even pay attention to who I mean, if I wail on a guy, great. But to me, one thing I noticed is that combat, and now again, I got to the middle of the third level, okay, which meant I cleared all the tracks twice and partial the third time. So I mean, that's pretty well in. And to me, you could almost not do any combat, and it wouldn't even matter. You could just, I mean, sometimes if a guy's convenient there, I would go and wail on him just because it was funny.
Right.
But I mean, in essence, I didn't get any more money. I didn't see any wacky cut scenes that I didn't see anything different. There was no bets or anything like that. There was nothing. It was just like so fill me in. Is there a reason? You said you can do stuff that will get you points, or what can you do? I never saw any of this stuff. I suspected it was there.
I'm not really sure. I get mixed up a lot on. Oh, and Natasha's the name of the girl
Natasha,
racer. Yeah, thank you, Chris. I can't remember if it's only in the later versions or if it's in this version. But the whole like friend and enemy mechanic, I don't think it has any bearing on the amount of money you get. I think just your placement in the race, I think first through fourth, you get money. Okay, you use that money to upgrade your bike. There's 5 races. If you win all 5 races, then you are the ultimate Road Rash king. If you place the top 4, you get to keep going. I think that's the gist.
I mean, I think that's this game. And I'll just go ahead and get into my actual thoughts on what I didn't like. This game irritates me in a bunch of ways. Number one, when you said they shoehorn the menus on there, that's a polite way of saying the menu system is garbage. It's garbage. They give you a little. On some screens, they'll give you like 6 keys and a little dot will flash each one. And they'll tell you what it does. It's like turn music on and off. But there's nothing that tells you. Well, I'm just like you. I knew you could buy a new bike, but I had no idea how to get there. There's no on-screen cue that tells you when to get there, how to get there. 2 players, I knew there was something for 2 players. I had no idea how to do it. You know, there's a thing that's on the main screen, it's real confusing. Mm-hmm. The menu system is atrocious. And I mean, surely the Genesis has some menus. Even if you just had to go down and click the button, it would have been better than what they had. They should just not even use the keyboard at all for anything if they were going to do it that way. I mean, I hated that. So that was one big problem I had with it. Second problem, like I said, it didn't seem like anything you did outside of winning the races meant anything, all right? And it was irritating. There was so much more. I used to play this game on the PC. I think it was called Death Rally or something like that. But you could place bets on who was going to win the race. You could put bets on yourself. People would hire you to take out other racers. And it was all text-based, but if you knocked them out, you would get X amount of money. None of that was here. None of it. And that would have been an awesome element they could have added that would be nothing hard for the Amiga to do. It's just, it's just some calculations, effectively. The weapons, like I said, it's fun to wail on a guy, but really, there's the one weapon, and it really, I guess, sort of, maybe it'll help you win, sort of, but I didn't think it was a necessary act. On top of everything else, we played the Saturn version of this before we played this version. In the Saturn version, it's real stylized and cool, and it looked like a crazy gang of crazy maniacs.
The kind of people that would do this sort of thing.
Like in this version, after every race, there's a majestic scene of you camping or holding hands to somebody. I was like, what is this? Who's going to hang out with you? You tried to kill them with a club. Mm-hmm. I thought this made the cut scenes made no sense. They were nice looking. But I thought that was silly.
This is a perfect example of a game that had premise, and it was executed not ideally, and then when they went back and reworked it, they did a much better job fleshing it out.
I will say this is one game, again, having played the newer version first, they went back and made a lot of good changes. Now, all those complaints aside, and there are some, like it's not the most attractive game. There are a few obstacles that crop out, like occasionally. I mean, there's obviously that white car. There's a white car, and there's a series of white cars that'll get in your way, like the cop. Like, I know the cop can arrest you. There's a cop on a motorcycle. It never happened to me. And whenever I saw the cop, I either wailed on him or just drove past him. So it was, I mean, maybe later on in the game it was more difficult.
And maybe somebody in the chat, because I think Hasifa is pretty familiar with this game, but I believe that if you are knocked over by a car within the vicinity, the cop can pull up and arrest
Right,
you.
I know you can get arrested because I saw in the documentation there was a menu for that. But I mean, it never came into play, you know. The fact that you see the same car over and over, it's not a different color, it's not a different type of car, it's the same car over and over. That gets old. All the other racers look the same. There's no differentiating. They're all the same color. They look different than you, but that's it. The obstacles, I think there's one area where like a cow can be sort of in the road you can hit, and there's some roadkill that you can run over that sort of slides you around a little bit, but that was it. The scenery was pretty good, but it was sparse. You know, I mean, it wasn't like, again, this is not, and the frame rate and stuff, this is not Lotus we're talking about here. This is, I'd say this is somewhere in the same ballpark as, say, I'm trying to think of some of those motorcycle games we played. I mean, this was not, frame rate wise, this was not at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
Hang On. It was like probably a little crummier than Hang On.
Right. I would put it just a notch below. So, even though Hang On's a much older game.
I think this is, now, all that said, all my whining and complaining, I played the heck out of this game because it's fun. All right. It's fun to race. The racing's fun. You get, and especially as you get later on, I mean, you can breeze to the first level. It's pretty simple, right? Then the second levels, you can sort of breeze. The third levels, I've had some trouble with those as you get tough. But when you get those new bikes, you get a good sense of speed. You get a good sense of there's a challenge. The game is paced well. The riders you have to overtake are tantalizingly close often, and it can be infuriating when you can't catch them, but when you do catch them, it's very satisfying.
Right.
So it's that classic race where everyone starts at the beginning, but a horde of people just warp speed out in front of you to try to catch them. You never jump out to the lead and never look back. It's every race I ever had was me barely getting the lead or me coming in second or third. You know, I don't know about you.
Yeah,
that was every time.
Yeah.
So the pay, but it wasn't so frustrating where I just see everyone front ride off and I'd be putting along and be like, well, I'm screwed.
Yeah, I think they do some rubber banding to make it a little bit more fair.
Yeah, and it was fun. That was fun. The fact that you get hit by the car and you have to go back to your bike, it's a less fun here than it is on the Saturn that we played, but it's still kind of a unique aspect of the game. Now, one thing in this game, if you get knocked off your bike and you don't touch anything, your guy will trot back to his bike. Well, at first I didn't know that, and I was trying to figure out where my bike was and using the controls, and it'll let you. It'll let you run all over creation, and it'll take you an hour to find your bike. I noticed that in this version, tapping the fire button didn't do anything to make you go faster.
Yeah, it's not like the other.
In the other
versions.
version, if you slam on your buttons, your guy will run quicker to get back to his bike.
Right. The only reason I guess they give you control is to avoid traffic. You know.
Right. Which, and again, for me, that was never an issue. But getting back to your bike, it's still kind of neat. You know. So I would give the game marks because it is fun, but it really, I mean, if you don't have a documentation for this, you're boned. I mean, you have to know how to get to these other menus. The bike buying menu, there's not a ton of, it's not real exciting, is it? I mean, for the most part.
And one thing that I wish that they would have done is made the bikes look different. You know, when you upgrade your bike, change the sprite just a little bit, just to show you.
It wouldn't take much, yeah. And they don't do that. I mean, having not played this on the Genesis, and I know maybe you've had it a little more, but I mean, I'm assuming this is exactly the same, like you said, it's just very lazy.
Yeah.
It's a lazily done game. Like, I mean, just something that small, or changing the car's palette every once in a while, anything.
Right.
Or how about a truck that comes, or another bike, anything that comes out of Pike would have been cool. It just isn't there. I will say the different tracks are challenging and fun. There's some awesome jump elements.
I like that. I like when you go into the air.
There's not enough of them, is there? I mean, really, there are not enough. The tracks are very challenging and fun. You know, I could sort of memorize them, you know, but I mean, it was there. Some of them you go up like towards the end, you're going like 10 miles. It's a long race, you know, and so that would have been neat. Some weather elements would have probably been fun. You know, I don't remember any of the rain or snow or anything like that, which that would have been neat, or nighttime.
I just don't know how, you know, with the frame rate chugging along as it is, adding rain or anything like that. I don't know how that would have impacted it.
You're right, Bo, but I'm just thinking wishful thinking now.
You know, Hasifa in the chat also has another fun tidbit about getting off your bike. He says if you crash right before you cross the finish line, you can actually run across the finish line and win the race that way. You don't have to cross it on your bike.
That's pretty funny, actually. And the thing is, I often would wreck right at the finish line, but I never actually, like, you know, had to run across it. But while I'm still on my high horse here, the music's no good. I didn't like any of the music at all.
See, this is where you and I differ.
I've been dithered.
I thought that the music was fine. I thought it was pleasant. We've played so many racing games on the Amiga that have no background music. I thought that these were perfectly passable.
I thought they were duds.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, this is the Amiga. You tell me that gets you fired up to race? No, that's no good.
Okay.
I thought the music was no good.
Okay.
A letdown, frankly. I didn't like it. So let's get this straight. I didn't like the music, the menus, or the graphic elements. The gameplay was suspect. And after all that, let's talk about the two-player element. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, hell, split screen action, two players, wail, and then no split screen action, no wailing on your buddy. It's a hot seat.
Take turn situation.
If you can figure out how exactly to implement the two-player, which is bizarre in itself.
The name entering scheme and the way, again, the menus leave a lot to be desired.
As an added bonus, save feature, no, it's codes. Now, I can get by with codes, but this is a computer. We can't have a save game element.
Yeah. Again, it's a port from the Genesis version.
It's a direct port where they didn't give a crap.
Right.
You know, so I wasn't impressed with that either. But I'm telling you, I'm complaining so much about this game, but I played this game so much this week because at its core, it's a fun game. It's a fun racing game. It's not the best at anything, but the elements blend together to make it a fun game. And the engine, you know, I just put out the Outrun. The last Outrun game, I can't remember what the heck it's called. Not Outrun, but not Europa, but the other Outrun, Turbo Outrun. That's what it was. This game is like I wanted to like Turbo Outrun, but the frame rate was garbage. All right, it was no good. Plus a lot of other problems. This reminds me of like the step up from that engine. This one was just good enough to get over the top to where I could enjoy it. You know, if it had been any slower, I wouldn't have liked it, but it was just quick enough. The tracks were just fun enough. They were just laid out nice enough for me to get a kick out of it. The sad thing is, I've labored under the belief that there was an AGA version of this because I think I mentioned it to you. You know, there's not one missed opportunity there. They could have had something that would have run faster and look nicer, but it didn't happen. So
I
that's
wonder
kind of
I wonder when EA abandoned Amiga as a platform. Because that might have had something to do with it. They might have already moved on by...
Well, 92, the Amiga was still putting along pretty decently. But yeah, you never know. They may have just said, the heck with computers. We're going to go straight up for consoles. I don't know. But yeah, I mean...
Because 92 was when the first Madden came out. And when they saw those bucks, when the money train rolled in.
Yeah. Well, they did a very weak port. You know, but again, not playing the Genesis. Maybe after I play the Genesis, I'll have more respect for this. But I mean, anyway it goes, their flaws are flaws. So if the Genesis version has the same flaws, you know, it is what it is.
Right.
But like I said, overall, I enjoyed it. I'll play it again probably, sadly. Did I enjoy the Saturn version more? Absolutely. Of course, it's a Saturn. So further iterations, and I've always heard that this game got much, much better on even the Genesis for like the second and third ones. Every one of them was a lot better. So it's a shame that the Amiga didn't get. It's a lot like when we played Star Control. Like you saw, okay, this is pretty good. This is a good starting point. Now and they never got that second bump. So it's not the best game, but I enjoyed it more than I should have or had any right to.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I feel like this is a good game that was made better with the help of graphical improvements and a fleshing out of the story. But overall, I mean, I just found it. I didn't want to turn the game off while playing it like other games that we've reviewed.
It is strangely addictive, and the funny thing is when the rubber meets the road, if you will.
Cut that out.
Even with the crap, not that great frame rate, and not that great backgrounds, the actual racing on it was very playable. The actual, it's fun. The jumps are fun, and like I said, going past guys is fun, and the element of whacking, if it's worthless, it's fun. So that's what really makes the game stand up past some of these other games we play that are just motorcycle
absolutely.
games. Like I'd rather play this than Hang On.
Because I mean, there's more to it. We should take a look at how this game reviewed.
All right, let's have a go.
While we do that, we'll look over here at our port comparisons, and let you check out all the different versions while I'm looking these up. So it looks like this game reviewed pretty well in the middle. Most of the reviews are in the 70s or low 80s. There is a high of 92 from Amiga Action in August of 94. But the one Amiga in August of 94 rated it a 65. So this isn't one of those cases where the later it is, the lower the scores.
It's unusual that they gave that a 94 I would say a 94. They gave it a 92.
92. Well,
because usually as these things get older, they start killing them.
In Amiga Computing 112, which came out in May '97, this thing got an 86%. So
okay, very good.
Yeah. So anyway, there's the reviews. What about eBay Action?
This game, I expected it to be plentiful on eBay, and I was incorrect. There aren't that many copies going around. So I found one that was selling in the UK for $23 to $26 US shipped. I think it's a pretty good price. There had been one shipped and sold in the US, which I was wondering if we'd gotten a release of this, and apparently we did. And they went for $30 shipped, US dollars. And then there's one currently available in Italy for $35 or best offer. That's US dollars. So that seems to be the right around that $30 mark seems to be what they're going for. This was released in a wacky compilation. The compilation was called Help.
We're running out of money.
I saw that. I'm like, what a weird. And unfortunately, I could not find any copies of Help with an exclamation point at the end. I don't know what else is in that, but I don't know how this fits in there unless maybe it's told from the perspective of someone getting hit in the face of the club.
Right. Going 70 miles an hour on the road. All right, so this has been our look at Road Rash. We're going to close things out by thanking the illustrious members of the Twitch chat who have saved us twice tonight when we had audio issues. So I'd like to thank Pishbot, NakZR, Hasifa, and Gary Hucker for hanging out with us this evening. We try and record Friday nights at twitch.tv/Amigos Podcast, so you're welcome to come join us. I'd also like to thank our Patreon supporters. So if you would like to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/Amigos Podcast. We appreciate it.
We need all the support we can get, don't
That's
we?
right. And I will be singing the Patreon names this week in the spirit of Tracy Chapman. Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbey, Christopher's Dreamcatcher, Lawrence Giroux, Graham Vemke, Brent Daddy, Elaine Danson, and Mosby, Brian's Red to Invention, Gary Hooker, C. Brian Joe, Paul Harrington, and Duncan, Styles and Alan Kebab, and Anthony, Tapes from the Crib, Josh Nan, Will Williams, Adam Bradley, Neil Mansell, Jonas Rulo, T.A.C. Agnes, Kim Tommy Homerstad, and Daniel Bingston, Brittle Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warnes, Pixels at Dawn, Kjolbjorn Barman.
Oh, Kjol's out the end now?
That's the end.
Man.
You got to end
Tracy
with the Barman.
Chapman, that's pretty obscure, Boat.
Well, sometimes I like to go. I like the deep cuts.
Oh yeah,
I like the deep cuts.
On Easy Rock Paradise, I've heard more Tracy Chapman than I ever knew existed. I want a fast car to get the hell away from her.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great week wherever you are. We'll see you again next week. We're going to play R-Type, that classic space shooter. R-types.
We're going to play both the R types.
All right.
One big R type R.
All right.
We should have did it for Pirate Week.
That's
but we
true.
missed the boat on
Missed
that.
it by a week. We'll see you next time, guys. Until then,
Arr.
adios.